Screencast, Race in America, American History and Culture class by Anna Roy. As we have seen throughout this unit, the 19th century in the United States was tainted with racial injustice, and racial segregation remained the norm until the mid-20th century. In the video, we will explore the accounts of the Chinese in the state of California and the Black Americans in the South. These two minority groups at the time were diasporas, as defined in the essay by Edwards in 2010. For the primary source, called The Chinese by Norton, written in 1924, we learned that by 1876 there were over 150,000 Chinese in the United States. 75% of them lived in the state of California. They had fled a country left in ruins after the Taiping Rebellion. At first, the Chinese were welcome. They were ready to work, able to learn rapidly, adapted well to the country. Their cleanliness, unobstructiveness, and industry were praised. Rapidly, the California gold ran out and everyone turned against them. After having worked side by side with the whites, they were now categorized as thieves. By 1882, the Exclusion Act prevented more Chinese to immigrate to the country. Similarly to the Chinese, the fate of the Black Americans, having been brought over to the United States as slaves, was now also being discriminated against. Slavery had been abolished with the ratification of the 13th Amendment in 1865. For more than a century, through the Reconstruction era, efforts were made to overcome the legacy of slavery. The Black Americans had fought with the whites in the American Revolution and were expecting to come home to work by their side. Slowly, the concept of injustice flourished, and the black lawyers worked their way around the legal justifications for segregation. Black Americans had been disobeying the laws and planning demonstrations. Even though the Black Americans had schools of their own, segregation was questioned from elementary school to the university level. These photos are primary sources, representing the first courageous black students attending white schools. In 1960, in New Orleans, Ruby Bridges was a 6-year-old first grader whose parents had fought that she attend the white school that was closer to their house. In 1957, in Little Rock, Arkansas, Miss Elizabeth Eckford was one of the first 9 Black American students to attend a white high school. And James Meredith, in 1962, enrolled in the University of Mississippi. By the middle of the 20th century, oppression and racism were challenged with the protest by Martin Luther King Jr. Black Americans demanded freedom and equality. It took courage and leadership to move forward. It was a long, dramatic struggle to finally reach the signature of the Civil Rights Act by President Johnson in 1964, preventing anyone to discriminate against race or color or prevent previous conditions of slavery and involuntary servitude. 52 years have passed since that day, and much has been accomplished, although inequalities still persist today. Specific efforts are constantly made to tackle these inequalities, but it will take time for further progress to be made. These are the references that were used to support this screencast. Thank you for your attention.